Hey everyone, welcome back to the Denver Sports Betting Show. I'm your host, Mikayla Nagl, and this segment is in partnership with Fan Day Nation, giving you insights to all the leagues you can imagine, but building communities and showcasing the fan like you guys. Today we have a very special guest with us, Taylor Bond. She is founder and owner of Bonding Experiences, so we will dive deep into what that is, who she is. But first, big shout out to Gardner Roofing. If you're looking for a roofer you can trust, Gardner Roofing is Colorado expert roofing team, family owned and proudly serving the community since 1998. At Gardner Roofing, they don't just build roofs, they build relationships with unmatched craftsmanship, honest pricing, and a team that treats you like family. It's no wonder customers keep coming back and bringing their friends. When it's time for a new roof, repairs, or just honest advice, turn to the name Colorado's trusted for over 27 years, Gardner Roofing. So if your roof needs some love or just want advice you can trust, visit GardnerRoofs.com or give them a call at 303-332-6224. Their family has you covered. Well, thank you so much, Taylor, for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to chat.
Of course. So why don't you first just tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was a college athlete. I went to Grand Canyon University and I studied sports marketing. And so I've kind of always had this love for sports and I'm a Colorado native. So I'm a big Denver sports gal. And I recently started Bonded Experiences just about a year ago with kind of this hope to help athletes kind of build upon their brand, but more so outside of sport and helping them kind of build revenue, build a brand, build kind of a larger platform just outside of kind of their everyday contract or their everyday performance.
Absolutely. And why did you start your own business in the first place?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's always just been a goal of mine. Like I mentioned, I've always just loved sports and I did everything growing up from rodeo to volleyball.
Oh, wow.
I ran cross country and track in college. I'm currently a high school track and cross country coach and I just love the game and I wanted a way to kind of like support athletes in a way that I didn't necessarily see that was out there.
Yeah.
Specifically in the running community, I support a ton of professional runners. And if you know much about the professional running space, there is a lot of pay discrepancy.
Yes.
And that was a big issue and a big need that I saw was to help some of these athletes who are performing on our world stage and not getting paid very much to do it and representing really large brands like Nike and Adidas and Asics, but on these really small contracts. And I thought, how can I help them like do more and not just fully monetarily, but also from, a passion, a point of view as well, where, a lot of these athletes have additional hobbies and passions and things they want to accomplish outside of sport. And obviously their sport is going to end at some point like it does for all of us.
Yes.
And so I just went for it and I saw a need that I wanted to fill and I'm on this new journey and it's really exciting, but I'm hopeful that I can really make an impact in the sport, especially that I've loved so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Why is it so important for athletes to have these brands and personas outside of their sport? And how do you specifically help them kind of grow their audience?
Oh my goodness, amazing question. It's because we're in 2025. I will start with where if you are not curating a brand around your name, you are behind the times. And I would tell someone who isn't even an athlete that I would say that if you are trying to get into any industry, that you need to start talking about what you're interested in. You need to create a reputation outside of just your resume and your work experience. And so that's kind of what I try to help athletes with too, is that they can't fully just rely on their contracts and their performance and them being a professional athlete, but they have to have a brand and a persona and a platform and, speak to their audience. And that is truly the future. And especially in the day and age of TikTok and social media, that's where a lot of our marketing and sponsorship dollars are going. And what's also crazy about sport in general is that there's actually marketing dollars that are going away from sport because you have this world of influencers now. And so, you take a brand, I'll use an example like a Red Bull, who notoriously has been in, the extreme sports space and always will, but they're also now putting marketing dollars into influencers and, influencers with really large followings. And so, what used to be, a $10,000 sponsorship contract for an athlete is now going towards an influencer. And so if you aren't maintaining your audience, maintaining your social platforms, you're kind of losing out on some of that money to someone who isn't an athlete. So, and I think that's not necessarily talked about enough. And we are kind of coming to this era of like, yes, there is all this opportunity, but also there's way more players in the game, and athletes really have to understand they have to keep up with the influencer culture as well.
For sure. Can you give some examples about how you specifically and your team help an athlete get to that level of like building up their brand? Like, do you take over their socials, or how does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very much an as-need basis. I will sit down with an athlete and say, what is it that you want to do? Or what is it that you are wanting to accomplish? What are some of your pain points? What are some areas you feel like you want to touch? And it's different across the board. Yeah. I work with one athlete in particular, and truly her only source of income is her shoe deal, is her shoe contract.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
And I use this example quite a bit. She has, I think, close to 300,000 followers.
Holy crap.
And her only source of income is her shoe sponsor. And when you equate the money she's making with the platform and the audience that she has, I like to say the math isn't mathing. She should be getting brand deals. She should be getting additional sponsors. She should be, asked to show up at events or speaking engagements. And so I sit down with her and I basically do like a creative brief of some of the things that she feels like she's interested in. And I kind of help her curate almost like a brand strategy for herself. So, what are some additional sponsors we can gain, and how do we go about connecting you with them and making you more money? What are maybe some side projects you want to do? For one, she was really passionate about youth sports and youth runners. And so we helped her basically curate a youth-driven camp that kind of has her name associated to it. And luckily her shoe sponsor also was interested in being involved. And so now we've created, additional sources of revenue for her to make money off of those participation fees and those camp fees. And then she also, has a side project that she can go and invest in. I would also say, yes, like speaking engagements are big. I help athletes, book certain events, speaking engagements, commencements, show fees, that sort of thing. But again, it's really dependent on what the athlete wants, what they're interested in, and, where they kind of see their brand in a sense going.
Yeah. Just being an athlete yourself, growing up as an athlete, how does that help you really prepare for what you're doing now? And how do you make the athletes that you're working with realize how important this actually is?
Oh my goodness. I guess where it all start is when I graduated college and I ran cross country, indoor track, and outdoor track for 4 years. I had a mini identity crisis, if you will, where I didn't really know like who I was outside of practice and how to make friends that weren't just my teammates, and how to talk about my interests that weren't, college athlete focused.
Right.
And so I think one, that's where that kind of stems from, is wanting to remind professional athletes that your lifespan as an athlete isn't forever. And who are you outside of sport, and how can we help set you up for success when your time as an athlete does end? And also monetarily, like what are you going to do when you don't have a contract anymore? And what money do you have coming in? A lot of my athletes I work with too also have no real world experience because they became pro right out of college. And so how can we leverage some of your personal skills to create something that is a business endeavor. I would also say too, understanding the athlete mindset, that they are grinders. They do have a strong work ethic. They're perfectionists. They know how to work really hard, and kind of how can we, segue some of that like passion and motivation and work ethic into something that maybe isn't necessarily athletics based, but more of a business mindset.
Yeah,
so.
Of course. Diving into like the business side of things on your side, what has been the biggest challenge that you've seen just starting your own company from the ground up? And like you said, we talked earlier, you started it in November, December.
Yes.
So it hasn't even been that long, but you were full thrown into it. So what's that been like?
It's a whirlwind for sure. Every day is different, which I love. I think to answer your question, I would say the biggest challenge is you don't know what you don't know. And so when I do get a really specific question, or, someone wants to potentially work with a really specific sponsor, or I get a lot of athletes who they have an idea or they have a concept, but it's not fully baked or it's not like fully thought out, and kind of trying to like figure that out with them and helping kind of tailor what it is that they don't know and what I don't know, and trying to like learn as you go. But that's also the beauty of it, right? And we all are just trying to figure it out, no matter what career path you're in, or what job you choose. You're learning as you go, and you learn by doing and by failing forward. And so I have to just constantly remind myself, and I'll probably look back in another year and go, wow, I knew absolutely nothing and I got this far. So I guess I'm figuring it out.
Yeah. You've had a lot of different roles in your lifetime, experience job-wise, through school and not. How has that helped you prepared for what you're doing right now?
Yes, I would say it makes me truly a Swiss Army knife. I have had so much different experience, not only in different industries, but with different companies, different types of roles. And I think to my benefit, I would say that has helped me better understand kind of the need that someone might face in terms of they come to me with a concept or an idea, and it's like, oh, I actually do have social media experience or video experience or marketing experience, and I've had my hand in so many different things that I do think it's allowed me to have like a really unique skill set, that I haven't been so isolated in one thing or one industry. And I like to believe that's given me like a more well-rounded like thought process too, with all that different type of experience.
For sure.
And I think it's good to jump around. I mean, some people say too, like, oh gosh, their resume is a mile long. It's like they've learned a lot along the way.
They've done a lot of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. My last question for you is, how do you want bonded experiences and yourself to be remembered for?
Wow, that's a beautiful question. I would say I would love to be remembered for supporting athletes in whatever it is that they want to do. And that doesn't even have to be athlete based, truly helping them cultivate and curate whatever it is that they want to do and bringing those visions to life and helping them achieve their goals. And I think something I have on my website says, the team behind the team. I think there is so much support, so many resources, so much out there for the athlete, but the athlete is so much more than an athlete. And, the theme of this conversation is that their time is going to end, and how can we set them up for success after that and give them a nice landing place after sport and something that they can help, or I can help achieve their goals outside of that. So, and also, just helping them realize some of their passions and that they can dream big outside of just their sport, and they're more than their sport and their performances.
Yeah. And then basing that question on how you specifically want to be remembered
for. Oh my goodness. I would love to just be remembered as someone who can get anything done, help anyone accomplish whatever they want, and that shows up with an open mind, who is excited about people, excited about helping others. I think, you know, in the world we live in, we always tend to struggle with like, what is our purpose?
Yeah.
And I think if I can be remembered for having a purpose of helping others and being excited for other people and excited for other people's passions and being supportive and being other people's cheerleaders and you go a long ways with other people around you. And I think that's so important to have supportive members in your circle. And so if I can be a supportive person in someone's life, I think I've made a difference and I've done what I've come to do. So
well, thank you so much, Taylor.
Yes.
Where can people find you on socials or anywhere?
Yes, Bonded Experiences. You'll see our fun little basketball logo. We're on Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok. Follow along on TikTok. We talk all kinds of sports. I get into the WWE. I cover horse racing, NBA news, all kinds of stuff. So make sure you follow us along there. Website, LinkedIn, pretty much all the platforms.
Awesome. So. Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Yes.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.